All right. Well, welcome. Hello to our Leadership Connection webinar series today. We're addressing a much needed topic on the idea of the Peace Index. We have a special guest today with us, Jeremie Kubicek. And I am Dr. Jesus San Pedro. I'm a program director and assistant professor here at the Master of Arts in Leadership program at Mid-America Christian University, the School of Business Leadership, and I'm in the midst of connecting the dots between relevant content, highly capable leadership thinkers, practitioners, and of course with a very diverse base of learners from around the world, around the nation, even here locally in Oklahoma City, where I am at our campus, beautiful campus here, and basically trying to help leaders and people to leverage and thrive in their careers and go ahead in their God-given calling as they pursue their life and leadership. And today, once again, I have the privilege to share and to host and be a moderator together with Dr. Kelly Resamy, who is a program director for the MBA program and also associate professor. And on behalf of our university, and specifically from our School of Business Leadership, we want to welcome you, and we want to welcome to this new edition of our Leadership Connection webinar series. And glad to have you also here today and share with you, Kelly.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this particular session with Jeremie Kubicek, and we won't belabor things, but I do want to point out that we are a monthly webinar, and we like to connect our local, national, and even international community together. And we want this to be a transformative, conversational, open space for you to talk about leadership topics. And so we're excited to have our students here, our alumni, international leaders from around the world, our faculty and staff. So thank you for coming. We're excited about our topic today. And we want to equip our students and provide the most relevant and most pertinent material for you. And that's why we've invited world-class leaders such as Jeremie Kubicek to come and talk to you today. So through this webinar series, we just want to bring the world to MACU, but more importantly, take MACU to the world. So thank you all for coming today. Please mark your calendar for February. We have another exciting person coming. It's the third Thursday of every month at noon. And hang out until the end, and you'll get to talk and interact with our speaker and perhaps win a gift. So thank you.
Yes, and I want to introduce our topic and our guest speaker today. Before I do that, I just want to mention that one of the reasons why we're doing this is because, you know, part of our MACU's mission is to create, collaborate, and innovate to solve local and global problems for the glory of God through Jesus Christ and the good of society. So for that, we need leaders that may be in good fit. And the topic of peace, which I'm gonna introduce briefly, it's very relevant. Normally addressing inner realities in leadership, in leaders is part of what we do here in both programs, in the Masters in Leadership and MBA program. And I remember listening to a quote from Joyce Meyer a long time ago, and connects to what we're going to be seeing today. She said that stability unleashes ability. And as we pursue actively, because it's an active concept, and I'm sure we're going to be blessed and we're going to grow as we hear our guest speaker on this wonderful topic of peace and how relevant it is to our leadership. So the topic for today is the Peace Index, how to keep the peace daily amidst the chaos of everyday life. And we're going to talk a little bit on the secret of maturity and how to develop inner peace when there's no external peace, and find out in which areas of life is pulling your peace levels down, and create a plan to counter the negativity. Also, how to keep the peace with a daily regime designed to manage your emotions so that others don't have to manage your emotions, and how to help others increase their peace at work or at home. Very relevant. So our wonderful and guest speaker for today, he's a longtime friend of us here at MACU in terms of the university have used a lot of the content and the materials that Giant, the organization that he leads, most of us have gone through it, and even some courses have included some of the books that he has written. So he's a leadership communicator, he's a serial entrepreneur and content builder, and he was just telling us the amount of a couple of companies, 7 companies you mentioned, is currently leading, but he's also an author of various books, including the 10X Leader, 5 Voices, 5 Gears, among others. And he's a co-founder of Giant, a company that certifies coaches and consultants that serve companies and their employees. And we're really honored to have you here with us, Jeremie. Thank you and welcome from a wonderful spot. Right now, a lot of us here in the cold weather wish we could be, right? So welcome, and
thank you.
I hope you can, I'm sure you're going to bless us today.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And good to be with you all. I am here actually in Orlando right now. I've traveled quite a bit. And so I've been in Mexico. I just am now been in Orlando speaking at Disney and speaking at some other groups here. And then I go to Alaska this weekend. And so it's like in a 1-day period, it's going to be lots of warmth and lots of cold. And so I'm going to be home. I live in Oklahoma City. Good to be with you. So I'm at an airport. I hope you can hear me and not too much clutter from other people. But what I want to do today is I want to give you, those of you that are listening and they're here, I want to give you some concepts. I want to talk about the idea of peace. And, especially from a spiritual perspective, peace is, we know the Prince of Peace. We know in this world we'll have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. It's Jesus. But what I want to do is I want to take peace and I want to break it down a little bit more tangible, because sometimes I find it's very, very fuzzy. And so we've been doing the Peace Index. It's a tool. You may have seen it if you've been around Giant for a long time. But the tool itself is really, really helpful. But we've found that it works really well with families. It works really well with kids, but it works really well in the work environment. So let's start with this concept. The big idea is that every one of us has a number over our head. And that number can go up and down every single day. And so today, I'm at like a 95. 2 weeks ago, it was about an 84. There's been times I've been in the 60s, and every day that number is going up and down over our head. That's the level of peace that we have in our life. And so again, I'm sorry if you can hear people next to me. I have a loud booming voice next to me. So the Peace Index then is something that's over you, and we're going to help you figure out what that number is. So I'm going to give you a number of tools. So before we get into peace, we're going to look at hope. Hope and peace are play hand in hand. Hope is really tied to your view of the future. How hopeful are you today about your tomorrow? How hopeful are you today about your future? And if your hope is really low, it's going to affect the level of peace that you have right now. So peace is really more of an indicator of today. Hope is more of an indicator of tomorrow. So if I were to ask you this question, this is the first thing, and maybe you can put it in the chat so I can see this. And Jesus, if there's a way I can see the chat numbers here. But the idea is, what level of hope do you have right now? What's your hope meter? You can either choose a color, a number, a word. Maybe we make it a number in this case. It'd be easier on chat. But the idea is, how hopeful are you today about your tomorrow personally? Okay, so everyone, if you have, just put a number in there. I'm probably in the 90s right now, probably 93, which is really, really high. And so if you're here, just go ahead and put it in the, yeah, thanks, Kelly. So give us a number. Jesus, where are you at? Just everyone pile in. I think some of you are putting it in the Q&A. Hey, Amanda. And that's great. But if you can put it in the chat window, that'd be awesome. So that's the first number that we want to look at. Now, at the same time, that's you personally. What would you say? Oh, chat is disabled. Pam saying, okay, thanks. You can put it in the Q&A. That's fine. Thanks for that, Pam. But the idea then is what we're after is what does hope look like for you? If it's really, really low, your peace levels are going to be low as well. So now let me ask you the same question, but I'm going to ask it differently with a different group. How hopeful are you in your family? How hopeful are you today for your family? And is it lower? And that's an interesting one. Is that number lower than it would be? So maybe put, family equals what number? Go ahead and put it in there as well in the Q&A. So you've got your personal. Now let's see what your family is like. Thank you, Alicia. Thanks for playing. Rita, thanks. Julie. So then my question is, did it change? Did it go down lower? Some might have been higher. So what's interesting is the reason that often will go lower is the controllables. It's hard to control your family. It's easier to control yourself. So controlling the controllables is an important part of the conversation that we'll have here. So I created this tool with my daughter when she was in a really tough situation this season, and how are you wasn't good enough. No, really, how are you, dear? No, come on, hon. How are you really? That wasn't getting anywhere. So we created the hope meter just to get an indicator of what's not working. Here's the construct of what I've been trying to build. To mature is the ability to develop inner peace when there's no external peace. And what's happened in our society in the last few years, we have had so much chaos. We've had pandemics, and inflation, political, social unrest, supply chain issues, war in Russia, name how many waves have hit us as a society. And what's happened is we've basically shown that we're not resilient as a people, resiliency as a whole. So then our individual peace is dropping because of external chaos. And you might say, actually, yeah, no, I'm good. And I had said that myself. No, I actually handled it pretty well. But what I didn't handle was the people around me's chaos. And when their peace level started to drop, it started to affect me. So the idea of understanding what inner peace is, when I was writing this book, I had a friend in South Africa, and she had a dream, and in her dream about me, she said, Jeremy, I saw you standing in the water in the ocean, and wave after wave was hitting you, but you weren't falling back. You were staying strong. And I looked down, and you had iron legs, and you were able to handle the waves. And then I looked, and the next thing I saw was all these people started linking arms, and they all had iron legs too. And that's the big idea. Peace is power. When we're at peace, we have power, because the waves of the enemy, or the waves of the world, or the waves of chaos can't push us down. But so many believers have basically been affected by chaos, and their testimony, their their external example has been tarnished because they look like everyone else. Control, worry, and fear, and anxiety, and chaos. Well, God is not a God of chaos. God is a God of order, a sound mind, of love. The enemy is full of chaos. So if you think of peace as power, then blessed are the peacemakers, right? Blessed are the peacemakers, because they have power to handle the chaos. They have power to handle the negativity that is everywhere. So let's jump in and figure out what your peace index is right now. That's that number over your head, this number right here. Let's go ahead and figure out what is your number right now. And so it's based on 5 numbers, and all of them are based on 1 through 100. 100 is the highest. So very quickly, I'm going to go through and I'm going to have you take your phone and on your calculator on your phone, create the or find out what your numbers are. So we're going to take all 5, we're going to add them all together, and we're going to divide by 5 to get your peace index. So let me explain it. You then just type in 86 or 72 or 91 or whatever it is per circles. But hang with me, I'm going to go top and then to the left and down. So purpose. How good do you feel about your purpose? And purpose is really the culmination of how much is what you're doing tied to who you are. So does the work that you do align with the person that you are? How good do you feel of your purpose? So give yourself a number, put it in. Mine is really high right now. It's been a lot lower, but I'm in the 98 right now, which has not been that high in forever. People, so type 98 plus. Now people, give yourself a number. The number of the people are not the top 10 people that you love, but the top 10 people that you're around the most. Consider your family, consider your coworkers, consider your students, or whatever you do. What number would you give yourself? 1 through 100 for the people in your life. I'm probably in 92 right now, which has been high. It's been in the 80s for a while. So purpose number plus people number. Now go to place, and place is your how good do you feel about your spaces that you live in and work in. So your place would be your your house, your living room, your office. What would you give yourself? 1 through 100, and 100. So for me, I'm probably in that would it's Oklahoma, it's Oklahoma City, it's all those factors where I live. But I'm probably at 88 overall. So then you add those 3 numbers, and we're going to do 2 more. Personal health. Personal health is mental, physical, spiritual. How good do you feel about your personal health right now? 1 through 100. Add that number in. And then the last one is provision, which is how good do you feel about your earnings? Do you have enough earnings to live the life that you have? It's not, do you have enough earnings to live the life that you want? It's, do you have enough earnings to live the life you have? So take all 5 numbers, add them together, and divide by 5. And then tell me what the numbers are in the Q&A. So, and that is your peace index at 93, Julie's at an 80. So go ahead and figure that out. Yeah, thank you, Annette. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, anonymous attendee. Thank you, Melanie, for that. And so what that does is that gives you an opportunity as you put it in. Jen, thanks, Alicia, 94. It's hard to get in the 90s in this game. Amanda, 94, look at you with the woot. I like that. So what happens then is you start thinking about, thanks, Chris and Chavis, all right. What happens then is you give yourself an opportunity to understand where are you lowest, what's not working, and which one is your lowest. So in your chat, if you'll play the same game, which is which one is the lowest? Is it personal health, which it typically is, by the way? Is it people is usually number 2 on the lowest level. So which one of those was your lowest? Put that in. Thanks, Amanda. And then keep going. Anyone else want to play? Thanks, Julie. Yeah. Yeah, Melanie. Thank you. So provision, is it place? Is it people? Is it purpose? Place. That's great. Now, the next game I'm going to have you do is this. I want you to control the controllables. So I'll take your lowest and then make 2 columns like this on a piece of paper. What are your controllables? What are the uncontrollables? And what you'll find is that your controllables tend to be a lot more than your uncontrollables. Let me give you an example that happened today. There was this one person I was talking to, and their low was at place, And there, I asked them why, and they said, well, our neighborhood's not really strong. And I don't really love our backyard. And I feel like it's just cluttered. And I'm like, okay, so what's uncontrollable? You can't control the neighborhood. Okay, got it. What are the controllables? And at the end of the day, I gave her a 2-word, really helpful tool. Write these 2 words down: string lights. And we started laughing. But the reality was she was accidental with her backyard. She was accidental with her home. And I go, do you think that you could clean your house and maybe rearrange, and would that bring more peace? And she started smiling. She's like, I just told my husband that same thing. And it's just the truth. It's like, control the controllables. Most of the issues and frustrations are that we've generalized frustration. And I tell everyone I coach, no, never generalize frustration. Always be specific with your frustration. If you're frustrated, write it down in specifics and then ask the question, what can I control and what can I not control? So that's your homework assignment based on your lowest. One more, and it's hard to do this when I can't see anyone here. So it's just, I'm seeing myself, but which is the driver. What is the driver? Which one is most important for you? For me, it's purpose. Typically, it's either purpose or people, typically. But if your driver is also your lowest, everything else will fall apart or be lower. And I'll give you an example. When we bought John Maxwell's businesses in 2007, and I moved to Atlanta to merge them into Giant. My purpose was unbelievably high. I then launched the Catalyst conferences. I built the LeaderCast event. It was unbelievably high. And the people, we had turned, the company was going to bankruptcy. So we turned the Maxwell world around and got it healthy again. And there was just a number of issues that were going on. So I cleaned those up. So the people were great. The place was Atlanta. We moved from Oklahoma to Atlanta. Trees, access to beaches, airport, very easy to fly in and out of. Personal health was good. I was a lot younger. I had more hair, and provision was good. I was at a 96, 97 overall. Fast forward to 2013, my peace index had dropped to about a 60. I'm like, wow, what happened? And what happened was my purpose dropped. And when my purpose dropped, because it was the driver, everything else started to fall. People, I started noticing the traffic. My personal health, I started having more worry and stomach issues. My provision was still high, but none of the others were. So I went from a 95, 8 years later to a 60. So we sold it all, moved to London, rebuilt my purpose, established what you see with Giant. I basically was so frustrated thinking, you know what, I wanted to do what Jesus did. How did he change the world? So we rebuilt Giant around how Jesus changed the world. And that's where these tools came from. So again, it's a great way to have a conversation with other people. So it's imperative to identify where there's no peace and why there's no peace. And then you can start to do things about it. So if it's purpose, it's finding purpose. All of us have a purpose. Some of us find it. What is it? If it's people, in the book, in the Peace Index book, there's a chapter on people, and it gives you the opportunity to analyze them. And it's a systematic approach that you can't show anyone, because your Peace Index will go down if they see what you're thinking about them. But here's a big thought there. Don't let someone's lack of peace affect your level of peace. That's important. If it's place, you're doing a place assessment. Give yourself a number. What's off? And so I wasn't joking around the idea of string lights. It's called a fuga, which is a Danish term about really ambiance and the power of ambiance to the level of our peace and enjoyment. If it's personal health that needs help, what are your inputs? Inputs affect outputs. So let's make some changes there. Let's learn how to trade up. If it's provision that's the issue, you have to understand, what do you need to earn versus what do you want to earn. That's really, really important. And then I'm just kind of skimming through a couple of things, but all of these are designed to help you learn how to deal with your dissatisfaction. So if your dissatisfaction is higher than your vision, then hopelessness will come in. So therefore, what we're trying to do is get to the point where the peace index helps you manage your emotions so that others don't have to manage your emotions, so that you can begin to control the controllables. So that's the general gist of the peace index. And again, I'm so sorry, I'm so loud here in the Orlando airport. But the idea is finding peace. One last thing I want to say, and then I'll have you guys do Q&A, and you can start teeing up any questions you might have on any of this. But this is what I did to manage my own emotions. I figured out that I have to figure out how to keep my own peace. So I created every morning I do a call-up session. And a call-up session is I basically wake myself up. I look in the mirror a little bit, and then I do a little bit of movement, activity, workout, whatever you want to call it. And I read a little bit of scripture, and then I call myself into who I am. Jeremie, you're a freedom fighter, man. You're a liberator. You are a son of the Most High God. And I call myself into the identity of who I am, which then activates me. It's like I put my badge on, and I have the authority, like badge and power. And so it's this idea that I am a son of the Most High God. I do that. Then when I go into the shower, I pray over people of peace. This is Matthew 10. Lord, bring me the people you want me to serve. Keep me away from those you don't. And so I'm looking for people of peace all day long. And if they're not a person of peace, then I shake the dust off and move on. Then at 5:30 every night, I do the examine. It's a Jesuit. Loyola created it, but the examine is basic. I do three things usually every day. Number one is I go, what was a highlight of the day? And I don't even write it down. Sometimes I'll text someone. If I'm driving, I'll just audio text and just thank someone for the day. Then I go into the second part, which is where am I not at peace today? Where was I off today? And was it me or was it them? And it gives me this opportunity to really examine, and let the Holy Spirit do the work on me first. And then what I do is I'll ponder it, I'll think about it, and I'll make an action plan to resolve it. So then at night, I'm at unbelievable peace. Then the last thing I do is I just look at my calendar for the next day and pray over it, pray for people of peace, plan transactionally. Is there anything I need to do emotionally in my set, spiritually in my set? By the time I get home, my evenings are amazing because I've done the hard yards of working on myself. And then if anything makes it through that entire process, at the very end of the day, I do this maybe 2 to 3 days a week, something will get through and I'll be pondering something that might be negative. So I choose a word and I ask the Lord, I go, hey, work on me while I'm sleeping. And so I might say, choose hope, Jeremie, choose hope. It's my theme for the night. And I put a theme over me before I go to sleep. Or eradicate negativity, no negativity. So when I wake up in the morning, it's really hard to remember, by the way, but I wake up, I go, what was the theme? I go, oh yeah, choose hope. Hey, and so then I start my call-up session based on my rest in peace sleep. So that's what I do on a daily basis, or on a weekly basis to manage my emotions and learn how to keep the peace for myself. So that's a little bit of the peace index and the idea. There's a lot more in the book itself. There's also a course if you want more information. If you want to take the assessment, you can go to the peaceindexbook.com and you can send it out to people, a link, and it's free. There is a course if you want to go deeper, or you can read the book itself. So with that, let me pause and let me answer. Let me answer any questions that you might have. So if you want to type in a question, or Jesus, if you have a question that you know of, it would be great.
Yes, thank you so much, Jeremie. I think we ended up really blessed by this assessment and the opportunity we have to, see ourselves in a mirror of 5 areas. And I'm sure some good questions will come out. It's open. If you have any questions for Jeremie, let's
I
take
have a
advantage of this
question,
time.
Jeremy.
And
How are
by the
you?
way, Jeremy, I just wanted to mention that it has a good background canceling noise.
Good.
So you're good. No worries.
Awesome. Thanks.
And I have a question, Jeremy, while we're waiting for others to queue theirs up, is how are you keeping your peace in an airport right now? I mean, I'm amazed when you told me about the companies that you're managing or really running, and then even the company with your son, and then this engagement where it kind of caught you off guard and you're in the middle of an airport. What do you think what's the steel to your legs?
All right. So yeah, no, it's a great question. Well, it starts in the morning, and it literally does, because what I do is I go, Lord, in the morning, bring me people of peace. Who do you want me to serve? And what I've been doing is I've been realizing that there's the kingdom of God and there's the kingdom of man. The kingdom of man can get stressed out very easily because they're trying to prove themselves, or they're afraid of what people will think. And so I've been working on the idea of no man pleasing, getting rid of. And it's not that I'm like agnostic to wanting to serve men, but I'm not trying to prove myself to people, because I know my identity. I know what I'm called to do, and I'm called to liberate. I'm called to heal. I'm called to cast out and raise up. So if I can do that in any place, and maybe even, I'm just showing you my world, maybe where.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
therefore, you just go, great. So no matter where you go, I know that I'm a peacemaker. I'm a liberator. And so then this morning, I had 3 impromptu meetings. One with a guy who drove over, 3 hours just to come have 45 minutes of coffee with me. And it was a game changer for him. Literally, it was a life, but it wasn't me. It was just the Lord doing the work. So when you are at peace, when you're secure and confident and humble in who you are, then what you do has more power. Let me give you one more little story and an example here. My mentor was a guy named Doug. He was from DC, and he mentored me when he was 83 years old. And he was a influencer to world leaders, amazing person. And he goes, and this will answer that question, maybe even more. He goes, Jeremy, do fountains move? And I'm like, what do you know, Doug? Fountains don't move. People go to a fountain to get refreshment, ambiance. He goes, right. What if the water's bad? I'm like, well, if the water's bad in a fountain, people don't go to the fountain, walk around it. And he goes, right, Jeremy, be a good fountain. And his point is if you do the work of peace in your life, if you are doing the work of making sure that you have clear, clean water coming from you, you don't have to move. People will come to you. Our job is to be at peace. Our job is to be so secure. Today, I asked this group of educators, I go, let me guess, how many of you have a worry problem? Raise your hand if worry is at the center of who you are. 90%. And I go, okay, so worry is a prayer of disbelief. Worry at the center point is basically a lack of trust. Do we trust? Do we delight? Are we committing our ways to the Lord? So those are the things that I'm trying to live and work it out, because I'm living in the kingdom of heaven while I'm in the kingdom of man. And that alone is blessed are the peacemakers, for their children of God, your sons and daughters of the King. So act like you belong, be that fountain, and then to go, yeah, okay, I can meet you guys in an airport. Do you know what I mean? That's not a big deal.
Yes, I love it. And thank you. And Jesus, I see your mic go off.
Yes, I was just thinking there's this idea of the Lord not wanting us to worry about what you were just saying, and the need for us to transform that into requests. That's what the Bible says, right? Like, if do not worry about anything, but basically turn them into like, what do we ask God? But beyond that, there are two questions here that have been shared, and I think you mentioned some of the steps or some of the ideas that, not necessarily in a progression, but so Madison is asking practically, what are some of the concrete steps to pursuing inner peace in the midst of a lack of external peace? Is there any suggested path that you?
Yeah. So, well, oftentimes I do work in the covert space that allow me to be a little bit more overt when I'm one-to-one with people. So my books are written in kind of secular manner with, not ashamed at all of the gospel. It's simply how I've laid out. We work inside companies that we couldn't get in without that, right? So, but to be very honest, if I'm like practical steps for you, Madison, anyone, it starts with getting into your father's lap and resting there and spending time with him, letting him tell you what he thinks of you, and getting rid. So I always ask people, I'm like, all right, you only have one answer. Are you a sinner or are you a son or daughter? Which one? And you can only answer one. And I grew up Baptist, so a lot of my Baptist friends are like, no, I'm a sinner saved by grace. I'm like, okay, but that's not how Jesus sees you. That's not how the Lord sees you. He sees you as a son or daughter. So when you can get to the point where you can accept that you're a son or daughter of the Most High God in Romans 6, Romans 8, Romans 12. I mean, if you can understand that concept, that I'm a son and you may be a daughter, then some of the inhibitions and worries that you find are your own personal insecurities. And it's actually an identity issue. Once you've gone through identity, then you can start to understand your superpowers, what you're designed to do, what your purpose is, and what your powers are. And when you have your superpowers and your purpose figured out, then you get activated, you start practicing doing it, and it's clunky. So imagine like Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie, when she's trying to learn how to use all the weapons at her disposal. And there's the very end of that movie, the bad guy goes, don't you know who you are? You're the daughter of the queen. You don't know that, do you? And then her power shifted and she activated fully. And it was like, so it's like a great example of you, Madison, to go, imagine if you climb up in your father's lap and ask him, who am I? What do you see me? And when he starts to validate you're a daughter, and then you start to see the gifts that he's given you alone for the purpose that he's given for you alone, and you start activating in that, peace is going to come like crazy, but it's going to come through power. Peace is power. And when you're at peace, you're empowered to engage. When you're not, it's that Joyce Meyer quote you said, when you're not stable, you're not able. When you're not at peace, you're not able to use the giftings, which then causes a more lack of peace. So becoming secure and confident and humble is really a journey of identity. Hope that was helpful, Madison.
Great, thanks. And Jeremie, I was thinking when you mentioned out of those 5 areas, the specific one on place, I couldn't stop thinking in terms of not only the place that we create in our homes, but also from a leadership perspective. We are somehow the architects of the environment in our workplace. And so is there anything you would like to add in those terms? Because I think it's so important.
Yes.
And from the role of leaders creating environments where peace can flourish.
So think about in the 100X Leader, that book, I wrote all about the idea that leaders define culture, and culture is atmosphere. So imagine cultures of your team or of your home. Imagine them as greenhouses, and that you're a gardener. Your job is to take every plant that is under your care, and you want it to thrive. Do the plants in your life, plants being people, do your kids, do your employees that you lead, Do they want to grow? Yes. Do you want them to grow? Yes. Can a plant become unwieldy and grow in the wrong areas? Yes. Can a plant die? Yes. So if this is a plant, then my job is to make sure it's got enough sunlight, it's got enough water. Some plants need more water, some plants need less water, some plants need more sun, some plants don't. But what most people do is they take a plant, put them underneath the table, they ignore them, and then 6 months later they do a review. They're like, man, plants these days, you can't find good plants. Oh my gosh, why can't, like, no, you are responsible to be a green thumb to help that person. So that means you have to know them. That's the 5 voices is about. Know your plant to lead it. Know your plant to know what kind of water. You know, they give you a card when you buy a plant. The card is dummy proof. It needs this much water, it needs this much sun. You know what I mean? Unless it has a disease, it's going to grow. The card for people is the 5 voices. The 5 voices gives you exactly what this is. A nurturer. You need to communicate like this. This is a pioneer. But the culture is the atmosphere. So if you're creating a liberating culture, not dominating, not protecting, but a liberating culture, then your plants are going to be able to thrive because the air is clean. Your kids are going to be able to thrive. That's what I did for my kids. I took them, all my children, when I became intentional, finally, the dad, I started to realize I'm a gardener for my kids. My oldest is a creative. My middle is a guardian. My son, my youngest is a nurturer. My wife's a guardian. I'm a connector. When we understood those dynamics, my wife and I could begin to lead them. So we then took tools, giant tools. We took maybe 15 of them, not 75, and we started to train our kids. So much so that my son is running a company called 6 Summers that does that, helps dads be good gardeners to their 13 to 18-year-olds. So it's a great question, but that's my long answer.
That's great. Thanks, Jeremy. Well, I don't know, Kelly, if you have anything else. There's one question that could help us wrap up from Chris, but I don't know if you have any other one, because talking about liberation, I think we need to free you up to go
your time
to get your flight.
Yeah, I need to run, but I do have for Chris, this is a question. If you provide one word of wisdom for a younger person, I always say this in your 20s. If you're in your 20s, it's not what you do, but who you work for that makes the most difference. Find the good, liberating leader that has built a healthy culture that will allow you to grow in your 20s. It'll make the world a difference. So that's my word of wisdom there. But to everyone listening, thanks for MACU for doing what you do. Thank you for letting me be a small part of it. Love it. Amanda, always just grateful for you guys. Thank you for all your work you're doing. And just hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go get on an airplane.
Great.
We do. Thank you so much for taking time for us.
Got it.
Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Cheers.
Take care. Have a safe flight. Well, we're really honored. Don't you think, Kelly?
Yes.
I think we had a great time here.
What great insight and spiritual building as well as leadership building content and thoughts to leave us with today.
Definitely. I think we're living with a lot of opportunities to get insights and to get us thinking further on how we can use this in our daily routines and also with the people that we interact with and how to create a better environment of peace. And before we close, I think we have some good information to share about our next event that we have. I just wanted to briefly mention, because I know that there's wonderful people that are joining from different parts of the United States, locally here in Oklahoma, or even the world. And the reason why we do this is because we want to make these Master of Arts in Leadership and MBA programs a space for conversations around what makes leaders in the marketplace better. And of course, one of the ways we do it is through the programs that we offer, but in the midst of it all, initiatives like this one take place. And we certainly offer the Master of Arts in Leadership, which is an experience that people can pursue in 30 academic hours, about a year and a half. It's 100% online, and there are 5 different areas of emphasis that people can go through: business, communications, higher ed, public administration, and ministry leadership. And we share, together with the MBA program, a great support system for students, and together with the technology we offer and the curriculum services, it's quite an experience. And the MBA, I don't know if you want to mention something, Kelly, about the highlights of our wonderful MBA, which has been granted a few recognitions.
Yes, we offer 6 emphases, and so you can get your MBA, plus if you want to have a specialization, we have it in new communications that Dr. Garrett Castleberry oversees, and that's new to our program. Plus we have these others that you see on the screen. Most importantly, though, we really want to nourish that and build that biblical worldview, so that we're sending out business leaders who can do exactly implement what Jeremie was talking about in the workplace, and hopefully highlight who God is through doing that.
Great. Well, if you're interested in checking more on these programs and everything that MACU offers, we're leaving you here links, and you can contact us, and also you can follow us on social media. Here are the accounts, and we're looking forward to continuing this conversation forward. And well, without further, I want to announce here, Kelly, we have a great topic. I'm so passionate about this topic, not only because I have a background in coaching, but because I found I mean, it was a great connection locally here of a lady that has been out there coaching people for a long time. Her name is Lisa Qualls, and she is not only a great communicator, serial entrepreneur, content builder, but she is the immediate past president of the Arkansas, Oklahoma chapter of the International Coaching Federation. And she just recently got this credential that if you're not involved in the coaching world, it might not mean too much, but being a master certified coach with the ICF means that you've been out there a lot doing coaching, and she has basically fulfilled all the needed work for that to be a reality. And she's worked in different boards around the world. She has served in organizations, and she's been a consultant to different ministries and to different corporations, and she's here locally. And we have the wonderful blessing to address the topic of the role of coaching in leadership development. You know, for someone to grow and to expand their leadership capacity, there's a few things. There is not only one thing, but there's a couple of things. One of them is coaching, and she's going to share with us what's the role that coaching plays in that expansion of capacities as we lead. So I'm sure we're going to enjoy it. We're going to learn, and we're going to grow and get to know a little bit more of this coaching world. All right. Well, if you have anything else, Kelly, for us to say bye for today, and have everybody come not only for the next one, but also check on what we have in the previous ones that we've recorded.
That's right. If you missed previous, we do have those recordings, and I'll tell you, I thought that last month was so excellent, and to have an international speaker, that was exciting. And so yes, please mark your calendar for next month. Get your lunch. Plan on the third Thursday being your time for lunch with the School of Business Leadership and our wonderful topics that Dr. San Pedro is bringing to us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and feel free to email us or to contact us if you have any other topic that you would like to see in the future addressed in these monthly spaces that we have. And remember to share these. This is not only for people at MACU. This is not only for people that we know. You can use it as a tool for development for your own team and for the people that you know, regardless of where they live. And this is just a space we are creating, and we want to, as Kelly mentioned, we want to bring the best to MACU, and we want to get the best from MACU to the world. And what an honor to be here. And thanks for joining us today. And thank you, Kelly, for your great space and for opening up space for this. And I'm honored to be sharing this role with you.
I'm honored to be a part of it. Thank you so much.
All right.
Excited we had so many people here today with us.
Yes, really happy for that. Well, see you, everyone. See you next month, and have a great rest of your day.
Yes, thank you.